Today I'm going to show you how to construct the body for the butterfly so that we can assemble it. This one's not totally complete, but this will give you an idea. Let me jump to my document camera so we can get started. Alright, here are the materials that you're going to need to start. You'll need one of my squares of paper that we use for our sketching, about 2 inches of wire, and you'll need a piece of mat board. Remember, mat board's the thicker stuff. So once you have those things, then you're going to begin assembling. So I'm going to set those aside. I've already cut up some of those. So from the small square of paper, you're going to draw 2 complete bodies, and you need 1 paper oval. So you should be able to get 3 pieces out of that. To construct your body, or to figure out how big your body should be, you should really lay out your wings. So get them kind of laid out, and then that'll give you an idea of how big the body that you make should be. So get those laid out. This body that I have here might be just a little bit big for this, but I'm gonna move forward with it. So lay out the wings so that you can get an idea of how big it should be. So 2 paper bodies that look finished, and this is kind of what we're going for. I would do all the complete color, everything beforehand. Make it look the way that you want it to look on the finished butterfly. It's much easier to color then. And 1 oval made of paper, all from that same square. And then we're going to set those aside. From your piece of mat board that you have, you want to essentially, the oval that you make, and you'll see why we're going to make the oval in a little bit, should be slightly smaller than this body. And then just use that same oval to trace. You need 2 of these out of the mat board. The reason that we do that is this is going to give the body of our butterfly a little bit of rigidity or strength. And you'll see, like I say, it'll kind of make sense in a moment. You will find that when you cut the mat board, you want to get kind of deep down into the scissors. That's going to allow you to cut more easily. It's going to be difficult. That's why we're only doing an oval shape with the mat board. If you tried or attempted to cut the details with your paper, like these details, if you tried to cut that on the mat board, you would find that it was really difficult, and it would probably end up messy, and your mat board would not be as strong as you want it to be. Alright, so ideally you're going to have 5 pieces, and I've got almost all of them laid out here. When you're cutting out, again, your details here on the butterfly, I would recommend not trying to cut out every little nook and cranny. I think you want to cut around some of the places where it's a little bit easier to cut. But like that base part there where the body is segmented, if you try to cut that out in a very detailed way, it's going to be difficult, and it's not really necessary. And I'll show you in just a second on my finished one why you don't necessarily have to do that. The main thing there is to think about just coloring to the edge. So I had some details that I did not cut, but I just kind of colored to the edge and made it look like those details were there. Alright, so I've got 5 pieces. I'm going to set these 2 body pieces aside for a few minutes because we're not going to use those for a while. I'm going to use, to start, my mat board pieces and my piece of paper, and then we're going to bring our wings right into it. So I'm going to take one of these pieces of mat board. I'll try to give you pieces of mat board that are dark, and I'm going to put that dark side face down. And now I'm going to set the other 2 pieces just aside for a few moments. And I'm going to lay out my wings the way that I want the wings to look. So take a moment to do that. We're going to use glue on this. Keep in mind that the wings are probably going to continue to move through this whole process. That is okay. got my bottle of glue. I'm going to now use the piece of paper. If you have, so where these wires are overlapping, it might be helpful if you make it so that they don't overlap, so that they're all kind of separate. And again, you'll see why here in just a moment. But when you make them, so, and all I'm doing, you can see, is I'm just bending a little bit of the wire so that they're where they need to be, but they're not overlapping each other. That's just going to make everything more stable. I'm going to put the glue on my oval of paper. It's very similar to what we did before. So a thin bead, kind of at the outer edge. I'm going to put some down the middle. I can already tell because it's a little bit thicker there that I'm going to have some squeeze out, but that's okay. I'm going to now take this piece of paper and apply it right over. Now, already you can see one of my wings is moving, so I just want to kind of look and make sure that those are where I want them to be. And now this is where it's really important to do this work. So I'm just going to come through, and I really just want to make sure that I'm pressing that paper around all of the pieces of wire. I'm looking again at my wings, making sure that they are in the shape that I want them to be. I'm pushing this guy in just a little bit. And then you can see the reason that I'm using the paper is because it really allows me to press right around that wire and hold that wire in place. So I think that's pretty good. You can see I do have some squeeze out with the glue, that's okay. But this paper, because it's pressed nice and tight around the wire, is really going to hold everything together here. I'm now going to take my other piece of mat board, zoom out just a little bit, and I'm really just going to apply it just right here. Before I do that, I want to take this was my 2 inches of wire. I'm just going to make a small loop. Ideally, so this loop is going to be to kind of hang our butterfly if we want to hang it. Ideally, I think I've actually made a mistake, but I'll just explain it here. I think this loop wants to be under this paper as well. I'm going to put it in between these 2 pieces of mat board, and I think that might work. But what you find with the mat board is because of the wire, it's going to be difficult to press it all together and hold it in place until the glue sets. But we'll give it a try. So again, I'm going to put glue on this piece. I'm going to, before I set this piece on the other piece, I'm going to set that little loop. Remember again, this loop is for the purpose of hanging your butterfly. You do not have to have the loop, but if you don't, then it's going to be difficult to hang it up so you can see it. So I'm going to press this now down. And this would be one that you really want to just kind of press nice and hard together for at least about a minute. That's going to allow the glue to start to set up. I do have some clamps. If those clamps are available, you might want to consider using those. I'll show you what those look like. So I have these clamps. If they're not being used, I've only got 1 set, so they may well be being used. But if they're not being used, then just go ahead and pinch those pieces together. See that guy's starting to come out. And you just want to allow that to set for probably 3 or 4 minutes. That way everything can be exactly where you want it to be. I would not start to flex or manipulate your wings until everything has been set for a good long while. You want to give your glue a chance to really kind of set up and look the way you want it to look. Again, because I'm not going to time lapse this, I'm not going to do any editing on this video. I'm going to jump to my last step here. Now this glue is not set. It's not exactly the way that I would want it. Last step is very simple. Once you've got your body glued together, your wings feel like they're pretty nice and rigid and attached, then you're just going to simply glue the body of the butterfly to the surface there. So you'll have a complete butterfly. Thanks for watching.